The aesthetic is like, first of all, it's like technology driven. It's a technology driven aesthetic, and quite often people are like, "Oh, it's so retro," and I'm like, "Well, that's actually just what my computer's capable of doing in real time." But at the same time, I have like this inherent nostalgia for playing video games in the '90s. So that's like ultimately something when it's like, looks like Firefox, that's perfect, or something like that, or not Firefox, Star Fox. Jesus. Looks like Firefox. That's a pretty bad slip. Or if it looks like kind of I like the polygons and the bright colors, and also as someone who's sort of like trying to be a pop artist, those kinds of things. Those are sort of iconic. That's an iconic aesthetic. That's helpful too. Like it's simple, and then that simplicity lends itself to the technology not having. I don't get caught in it. I'm never like, oh God, I wish I could get these reflections to look better. And so that's one dimension. And the other dimension is that like the new media artists and the demos that I was looking at, they're quite often demonstrating like new ways of doing old stuff, like new ways of painting or new ways of playing music. And that got me thinking about, and it was always abstract, right? It's like drawing machines essentially, right? And the history of abstraction took me back to looking at, over the history of abstract expressionism and sort of the male ego in that space. And then that just matched so perfectly with the persona I was developing on this hyper male ego that I started to incorporate, and it's not always apparent, but some like literal interpretations of early abstract expressionism or mid-century abstract expressionism as well. But like triangles and circles and like more like just like crazy brush strokes like Pollock, a lot of Kandinsky kind of stuff. And so playing with those aesthetics, but all these like sort of male ego aesthetics from the birth and sort of and generation of abstract expressionism during the last century, which you just see rebirthed over and over again. So,
another thing that came up in your previous answer was you mentioned that it's sort of this performance for the camera has become was it performance for the camera? Has become a foregone conclusion now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, does this form of performance is this just sort of
is it obsolete?
Well, is it obsolete, and has it just become just the way we operate in the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like you already see the response, right? Which is more and more people certainly younger people, backing out of it, like saying this isn't a foregone conclusion. I actually have a choice. Because I always argue, we've set up this situation where it looks like we have no choice, right? Where the way we design computer, like I work in software design, and the best software design is intuitive, which feels natural. So it takes away you don't think about it. It just feels like it's a part of you. Just like a very scary thought, because it means like capitalism is a part of you. And it's it's this illusion that capitalism might be something natural too, which is disgusting. No economic system is natural, and certainly not promoting any economic ideology. That communism's no more natural than capitalism. But God, that's a segue. We could go off on that. But where was I going with this? Yeah, I guess that so what you see is, even in the art world right now, actually, a lot of artists were turning to like natural materials and early aesthetics, like modernism and like abstract expressionism, like I was just describing, or sort of these go-to aesthetics that are selling at auction for like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have lots of friends that are doing that kind of work and making a lot of money at it. And why are they doing that? Because it's this response against automation, right? Like art cannot be automated; it's still human. And so I guess it's a foregone conclusion as long as we. Now I don't think that's good work. I'm gonna like outright say it, because it's sort of like it's just a reaction. It's not saying anything about. I guess it is saying something about where we are, but it's not saying anything new, which I find unfortunate. It's kind of in some way just as naive as the sort of characters I pretend to parody. So. I guess I shouldn't judge it. No judgment calls, but you definitely see it. It's like, it's in plain sight, and in the last 5 years, especially, in the last year, even more so, it's like impossible to ignore. So.